The following is a segment from session 4 of the Honestly Better Mental Fitness Show. If you would like a list of all the segments and full sessions, please visit honestlybetterfitness.com/list. That's honestlybetterfitness.com/list.
Welcome to LH Industrial's Honestly Better Mental Fitness. I'm Mike Lomberg. I'm the president of LH Industrial, standing in the middle of a breezeway in the shop in Tempe, Arizona, to get an idea of what we do behind us here. I found mental fitness a few years ago, and it changed my life. It's changed my family's life. And now we'll bring it to all of LH Industrial and recording it to put it out for us to hearing. Thank you for joining.
Well, one thing I wanted to share before we move on here is to talk about like different brain states. I know we're kind of locked into one and almost the others seem non-existent. Getting to do a lot of the work I do of in kind of the neuroscience world and measuring brain states and being able to shift into different brain states and seeing other people in that or going into those other states myself and knowing that it is phenomenal and truly feels like other worlds and becomes very real on understanding like what it might be like a kid, because kids are more in theta states. When you go into theta states, it's a wild world and you can't string together words very well. Like you can be like, yeah, there's that that color, it's dark, like, oh, black, like, you know, you can't even can't even like judge or discriminate against different things, but you have access to this like whole other deeper world sometimes. And so I know sometimes it feels like, no, I can't even imagine a time where I couldn't think about this or would be able to receive that, but it absolutely is. And then as you become aware of it, you start to catch yourself more. It's almost like if I think of you never smelled cigarette smoke before, something like that. And so you might not pick up on it, or maybe in the machine shop, there's a smell of a certain oil, right? Like an oil smells a certain way. And I could probably walk through it and I wouldn't pick it up, but somebody else that knows the smell of that oil really strongly would be like, somebody's using this oil around here, right? And it's a little bit of that in the brain states of like, I can start to become aware of like, oh, this is happening in me right now. And I'm becoming aware of what's happening in that. And this is a bit of that awareness of the, once you've seen, you can never unsee. Once you've smelled that oil, you'll pick it up anywhere that you see it. And did somebody spill that oil in the office here? Like, I smell it where I might just walk in and be like, it smells kind of funny in here and not even register it at all. Right. Communication patterns. So we talked about communication a lot in words. Communication is also something that comes up from childhood, just like everything else. When something is wrong, kids often can't explain. Actually, that's partly what I was just talking about, right? It's hard to put into words. You can almost think if you have a dream that is so incredible, it's hard to put words to it, or a feeling, or I don't know, the birth of your child, or some experience that you had that was so powerful. The word is ineffable, which is like undescribable. There are no words for it. And so I think kids a lot of times are that way, like they don't have the words to articulate what it is that they're feeling. And so they often have dramatic overreactions, dramatizing, exploding, tantrums, or underreactions, avoiding, ignoring, suppressing, that we tend to carry in adulthood. My question for is, what's yours, right? Like Mike was talking about earlier of moving towards or away from conflict. And that was patterns that we picked up in there. And it's patterns that we pick up from other people of what do they do. And it's also patterns that we practice. Maybe there was no space in your life to disagree with people. And so you didn't. And so you didn't have a chance to react to things. Your method of dealing with conflict is to stuff it all down and move on. Right? And so examining some of these communication patterns. I think the ideal is learning to move towards the issue. And as Mike gave us a good example earlier, and simply explain or ask without expectation of conflict or rejection. And without taking or avoiding responsibility when appropriate is the key to healthy communication. I think in my silly dog example I gave, if the dog was a person, it could be like, talk with them, right? Hey, did I do something? And they might be like, well, you didn't. Something else came from here, right? As opposed to, what's your problem? What's your problem with me, right? That's probably how we would deal with it if it was conflict, or I would just assume the person doesn't like me and avoid them and go the opposite direction and never bring it up in them.
I think another important one for nowadays in communication is if there is a conflict, don't text them. In the texting world, that is not a way to deal with the deal. You know, call them at best face to face, but at least hear their voice, hear the tone. I've seen so many people trying to resolve conflict via text or email. It's a terrible format. When you believe there's conflict going on, or they do, you imagine a lot of tone that can't be resolved via text or email. So.
Last one, taking responsibility. Trying to fix what we cannot. Kids see everything as their fault and therefore try to fix. And this one's an interesting one. It's often to address their own emotional needs. Kids are completely reliant for their survival on their parents, their caregivers. And as a survival mechanism, if the caregiver isn't giving them the care that they need, then their best chance at survival is to help the caregiver get back on their feet to be able to take care of them. And I might have talked about it, like, what does it mean to help another individual, and why would you want to help? There's a great book by Ram Dass called "How Can I Help?" of like, why the desire. If you are the type of person that has this strong desire to fix or help, or almost can't find yourself not able to help yourself in trying to help or give advice or comfort or console or whatever it is, a lot of times it's because of our own emotional state. You being uncomfortable makes me feel uncomfortable, so then I'm going to try to make you feel comfortable so then I can feel comfortable. Letting go of responsibility for others is another step, and letting go of the past, and a step forward to being into the present, which is where people really need us to be, with them in the present, not trying to fix them.